You are listening to the Atlanta Real Estate Forum radio show, all about real estate edition, shining a light on the movers and shakers in the real estate industry, the home builders, developers, realtors, and suppliers making it all happen.
Good morning and welcome back to Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate Edition. I'm your host, Carol Morgan, and I'd like to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Denim Marketing. Denim Marketing is the market leader in quality content for social media, public relations, marketing campaigns, and blogging. Today, I am pleased to welcome our next legends of real estate to the show. We are fortunate to be joined by the husband and wife team of Ann and Allen Richardson. So welcome to the show, Ann and Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be.
Yeah, very glad you're here. Well, Ann is the director and Allen is the chairman of the board, and they're both still a little bit involved with Richardson Housing Group. So this is going to be a really exciting show. Let's just kick it off. Allen, do you want to share how you got into the home building and land development business?
Well, in 1973, which has almost been 50 years ago, my father and I started the business. He had recently sold a business, and I guess I had a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit in me. So we started what was then Richardson Richardson Homes, and later we changed it to Richardson Housing Group. I also had a couple of uncles that were involved in the business. One was in residential real estate and involved with some construction, and I had another uncle that was a general contractor, and I worked for both of them off and on through college, and I just always had a fascination for the housing industry, and that's where I am today. So
it's a neat story. So today, I guess Richardson Housing Group is really a third generation company at this point.
I guess you could really call it that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about, launching it, and what did it look like when you launched Richardson Housing Group?
Well, it was very basic. One of the first things we did, and I think we tried to continue is to build relationships. We build relationships, try to build relationships with our subcontractors, trade partners, with our bankers, with our employees, and we've been very fortunate to have a lot of long-term subcontractors that have been with us, and employees. We have a lady that's been with us now 41 years, and she's now working part-time. She's been a very, very helpful to us with our children that have joined the company. She's been very supportive of that. So we've been very fortunate to have good people, and I hope that some of that is because we try to treat people right.
Yeah, 41 years is a great track record for employees.
You don't hear that much, do you?
No, not at all. You'll hear 15, 20, but I don't know that I've ever heard 40 or 41.
She's now working part-time. I think she works 2 days a week, so which is fine, and she's got a place there, and she knows a whole lot of things where things are. Let's put it that way.
Oh, absolutely. So, wow. Well, talk about the homes you built that first year and what styles they were.
Well, your typical split levels, 2 stories, and ranch plans. We didn't really know a whole lot about targeting market, or maybe we did and just didn't know what it was called. But we learned early on that that the young people were buying the split foyers, the split levels, and the middle-aged people, which are young people now, we're buying the ranch plans. And so we did start to learn a little bit about what we needed to do to target the markets. So
yeah. And speak a little bit to how, housing was, building was different in the 70s and 80s than it was today. What all was different?
Well, there was a whole lot different. We basically chose our plans, and we really chose all the interior selections. And later on, we opened our design center. But to begin with, we basically did everything for the house. They didn't really get choices. And so homes back then were more functional than they are now. If it didn't have a function, it didn't go in the house. So that was a lot. And the homes we were building were smaller homes. And as Allen said, they were for smaller families. And we didn't get into the amenities until later. We realized, as we developed communities, that they did need amenities. Families enjoyed them. And so we kind of went in that direction at that time.
I didn't say this, but Ann joined the company in 82, I think. But she was there from day one. She was part of spreading the bills out on the kitchen table and paying bills, and so she was very familiar with what was going on then. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talk about the housing downturn in 1974 and 1975. I imagine we have a number of listeners who really don't understand what that was like. So, share your knowledge.
Well, we started the business in 73, and we got everything all put in place, but we didn't factor that into the equation. It was a very concerning time. Interest rates had jumped up to 9 and 10%. Georgia had initially had a usury ceiling of 8%. So there was no mortgage money coming to Georgia. It was going where they could get the price. And we worked with the state legislature and got it raised the next year, 1 year there, and they raised it to 9%. And then ultimately they went to a floating rate, which, it's like a lot of regulations. It just had unintended consequences. But it was scary. One of the big things I do recall is we had construction loans with a lender that filed bankruptcy. We were counting on draws on Friday, and on Wednesday we were told that there would not be any, which was, that was just another arrow that we shot. However, we really turned that into a positive. At the end, we had banks from Florida and I believe Maryland that had not only our stuff, but other stuff that they had foreclosed on. And we developed a relationship with both of them. And we finished up some houses during that time, got them to the closing table. So, it made for some interesting times. And then it came out of it in 76, 77. We had developed, we had some pretty strong banking relationships then. And we picked up several properties, and that's when we started developing. And we were developing on land that had been foreclosed during that period. So,
yeah, I guess it's, not that different than today. Anytime you have some sort of roadblock, you find out, how to kind of engineer around it and what opportunities are out there and figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I do these Legends interviews, I always think, wow, 10% interest rates. And I think we've heard even higher from some of our guests. And I'm like, I feel like you guys should be out there really teaching, the builders and salespeople how to sell today. And, oh my gosh, 6%, because 6% sounds so low compared to 10, or 17.
I think the top the highest one we ever closed was a 17% mortgage.
Mhm.
And that was when rates hit 21, 22 at one point. So, and I'm not sure mortgage rates went that high, but and then they would stack on the discount points, which just
Yeah.
Was a killer.
Right. Wow. That's just crazy. I can't imagine
But
selling in
you're right.
17%.
Think about it now, and everybody's fussing about 6%, and 5.5%, 6%.
Yeah.
But and I remember telling people back then that they would never, we would never see single digits again.
Right. Well, it's like free money, really. And we've had free money for the last few years. When you hit 2.78 or 2%, it's negligible.
Yeah.
So I think we've gotten a little spoiled. So
Yeah, I think that's true.
interesting perspective. It's like, you're borrowing money from them. You're borrowing a lot of money from them. Don't they have the right to make some money? Right. Anyway, well, like everything else, technology has evolved since 1973. Anne, speak a little bit about how technology has evolved in the home building business since then.
Well, it's just come on 100% from where we were. Back years ago, we had no communications from the office to the field. And really, technology, our office wasn't filled with computers. We had typewriters and adding machines before the laptops and all of that came on board. But communication was kind of a problem to communicate to the fields. Of course, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have voicemail. So we had a receptionist at the front office, and she had a little tablet, and she would write out the messages and pass them out, which that's just hard to even imagine today, that going on in an office. But technology has really brought us light years.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, I can remember in my first jobs, they would write it out on a piece of paper and they would tear it off because they would have the duplicate copy that they kept, and then they put that on your desk, right?
Right.
And then we all had pagers. Those are
Right.
the most annoying things known to man, but at least we could communicate, right?
Mhm.
So you'd get paged and you'd have to go find a phone. So it is kind of interesting and fun to see how technology advanced from, I guess just the telephone to the fax machine to the pager to email to,
It's just
our
the
smartphones.
The Nextels were the most annoying thing. It was hilarious to go out to eat or anywhere else, and the little beeps that would go on.
Oh yeah.
But that was a great help for the subcontractors because they really could communicate.
Right.
That was a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Well, as I say, Alan, talk a little bit about how you scheduled your subs then compared to now.
Well, yeah, I was scheduling subs was interesting in itself, because there were no, as you said, there were no cell phones or emails or anything like that. And we would have to schedule them at nights when they got off work, and you had to learn, which ones you call in the morning and which ones you call at night. And if you had 8 or 10 phone calls you had to make at night, I mean, you were going to be there a while working on that. And we would also try to find out where else they were working, where are they working right now. And we try to, the different builders they work for, so that if we had to track somebody down, or if we needed them during the day, or we could at least get in their vehicle and go get them, find them.
So funny. Yeah. As opposed to today, nobody really seems to want to meet in person anymore. Everything's Zoom.
Everybody's on Zoom or emails or text messages or something. One of the interesting things, we were back when the fax machines came out. We had sold a house to a guy that worked for one of the fax machine manufacturers. He wanted to demo it for me. And he brought it in and showed me, of course, it had the rolled wet paper that came. And he set up and set his equipment up and showed it, and I said, man, that is neat. That is really neat. But I said, I don't know a single person that has one of these. And I mean, it wasn't long before he got a call back from us and said, we know some people now.
Right. And we need one. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. My first job, there wasn't any email. So I would stand in front of a fax machine and fax reporters all day long.
Mhm.
That's right.
Literally. It's crazy. So it's amazing how much more we can get done now because you're not sitting there
There
doing
were the
things.
Couriers.
courier
Mhm.
services that took documents back and forth to banks and lenders
Yeah.
and attorneys. So,
That's right. When we would have closings, we would courier the closing papers and documents over to the attorney, and they would courier them back.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Well, and when you joined the company in the 80s, what was your role and how did that evolve over time?
Well, I really, my big interest was in the marketing. And so I joined in that aspect, and really, I immediately joined the Sales and Marketing Council and worked on my MIRM and got my MIRM designation. But I was just fascinated with things we could do to make people seek us out and market those homes to those people. We were marketing to young families, so we always put a baby bed in our model, and things like that we take for granted now, but we had to think through all of that. Who was our buyer, and what did they need to see in that model?
Right.
And I set up our first design center where up until that time, we basically just chose the selections for the homes. They were standard features. And once we opened the design center, then we would bring the buyers and I would work with them in making all their selections. So we kind of built a rapport with them at that time too, because everybody loved to come in and hold and feel and touch the components of their homes. So that was a big thing. And we did more model homes, did one in each community. And then that kind of led us also to, since we were marketing the families, we began to put into a lot of the amenities into our communities with swim and tennis. And so one thing led to another in that aspect.
It's interesting that you say, you put a baby bed in every model. I think now it's the dog bed, the dog bowl, the dog bed. So
Absolutely.
I just wrote down, from baby bed to dog bed. I'm like, that could be an interesting blog, It's just an interesting topic on, you think of, how people's, priorities have changed with, young couples having kids later and later. The dog is seemingly more the priority than the baby.
Absolutely. And then that time comes right back because our kids were grown and we really are vested into our pups. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, talk about the areas of town that you built in and how many homes have you built to date?
well, I think a couple of years ago, we crossed the 5,000 home mark. And most everything we have done has been in Gwinnett County. And areas that we chose, I mean, schools were always a big factor in choosing. But we've had, we're comfortable, we are comfortable in operating in Gwinnett. We know that, feel like we know the market. We know, know a lot of people. We've tried to be a part of the community here. So, Gwinnett's home for us. Gwinnett is home. So
yeah,
we
that's
raised
neat.
our kids here, and the schools were the big draw for us when we moved into Gwinnett. And so we just kind of chose the communities around the school systems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine that was, I was gonna say, my next question is what's the driving force behind choosing a site for a subdivision? Part of that, I'm sure, is schools, but what else goes into that?
Absolutely.
well, I mean, your question was what else goes into that? I mean, it's, the infrastructure, has it got sewer, is it septic tank? It's, And certainly it's a lot easier to develop property on sewer when it takes some of the guesswork out of it. But we built a lot of subdivisions on septic tanks
Mhm.
early on. So,
Yeah.
and it's the infrastructure, the cost, if you've got a lot of off-site work or things like that, bringing sewer to it, those add costs to a project.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And we do a lot of smaller projects now, more infill stuff. And if you don't have all the infrastructure there, I mean, there's just not enough lots in there sometimes to divide that offsite cost over. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I think that I see a Community of the Year award behind you. Is that what that is?
That's, you know, that
Yeah.
was
No.
something I received from Builders Insurance.
Oh, that's from Builders Insurance. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was an OB and that was a Community of the Year, or
We've received several of
I
these.
knew that you had.
Really,
Mhm.
for different things over the years. And
Yeah.
that's been quite an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, it's always nice to get awards and to be honored for the things that you've done. Well, talk a little bit about your children at the helm of Richardson Housing Group now. What is it like watching your legacy, in action?
It is awesome. You take it from there, Alan.
Well, Mark committed. I mean, Mark always said that's what he wanted to do. I mean, even from a little kid, and he followed through. And after college, he joined us, and so he's 45 years old now. So he's been in the business now 20 years, and he's really done a very good job. Angie joined us about 3 years ago. She was teaching school, and we needed some accounting help.
Mhm.
And I knew she's very strong with computers, and so she joined, and she's taken that on, and she really owns that department now. So, and that's been great. So we couldn't have planned it any better.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we totally planned it, but
It worked out in the end, huh?
really well.
It really did. They're a joy to work with, but they're also really responsible, and they really own it.
Right.
So that from the very beginning, they owned their positions and have worked hard in them, and we appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Well, and that's nice. I mean, I'm sure you're very proud of both of them as well, that, that they've got the skill set to run it and do it,
Right.
and you've been able to take a step back and really just watch them and, steer and supervise as needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we stay pretty close to it, but they run into day to day.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, talk a little bit about your involvement with the Greater Atlanta Home Builders Association. I'm pretty sure you served as president in 1984.
And yes, and
And
then also was president of the state association. There again, it was about, I built a lot. I made a lot of friends there, built a lot of relationships, and it evolved in, relationships that are still there today. And it helped us as we were younger, and meeting people and talking to them, and getting their take on the issues and the problems we face. And it was an experience. It was a great experience, and we felt like that, just like we try to be a part of the community in Gwinnett, we try to be a part of the building community. So,
We always were. We attended all the conventions, and there was just a wealth of information when you got with these people. They had tried things, and you would just go to dinner and share stories and we always gained a lot from all of the meetings and everything we attended.
Yeah, I think that's the thing a lot. Go ahead.
We've taken a step back though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and to me, the National Association of Home Builders and our local and our state, I think the thing that a lot of people who don't participate don't realize is you really are missing those networking opportunities. It's not just a chance to meet somebody, but it's a chance to compare ways to do things and
Right.
processes and systems and to learn from each other. So,
Sure.
I mean, I learn something every time I go to one of those conferences. So, yeah. So, well, I'm going to ask you both individually because this is kind of a fun question. But Anne, what has been the most rewarding part of your career?
I guess, I mean, the probably the most rewarding part is seeing our children come into it. But I have loved and enjoyed doing the model homes, working with the agents, working with the buyers. It's just everyone is different. It's so much fun, and you just build relationships along the way. And I guess that's what I've personally enjoyed the most.
Yeah. All right, Alan, same question. What's been the most rewarding part for you?
Well, I mean, certainly back to seeing our children take the helm of and running the company, and it's given me time. Of course, I work very closely with Mark, and over the last 3 or 4 years, I've worked very closely with Angie, and she's taken over the accounting part of the company. So it's been rewarding. That's a very rewarding thing. I mean, I enjoyed working with homeowners a lot, and planning things, and hearing their stories and things. But that didn't compare to
No.
what I've gotten out of the children coming into the business.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, it's a good segue. What advice do you have for young people looking to get into the building industry today?
Boy, that is a tough. I would say that it would be much more difficult for them to break into the business than it was for us. We were, the builders in Atlanta in the 70s and 80s were, mostly homegrown, and they were small builders operating. Today, you've got all these national companies, made, with a lot of big bucks. I would say that I'm astounded every day at how much capital it takes to operate a business, and that's changed so much over the years. I would probably suggest that somebody go to work for a local, or somebody that maybe a national, I don't know, but they're going to have to be well capitalized. And that's tough to build that capital, without involving partners or bringing people into it, and investors. But it's going to be harder for somebody to break in than it was for us. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
No, I can't think of it. You
Covered-
covered it well.
Covered it all. All right. Well, then I am going to ask how our listeners can get more information on you. Where can they go if they want to find out more about Richardson Housing Group?
Okay, well, the very best place they can go is to our website. It's rhghomes.com, and we just have a wealth of information on there. We have floor plans, communities, directions to all the communities, agent hours, and they can just go through there and see some of our photos of the homes we've built and the plans. And I think they could pretty much find anything they want through our website.
Perfect. So rhghomes.com.
Correct.
Excellent. Well, I am going to say that as a wrap for this week's Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio's All About Real Estate edition. I want to thank Ann and Allen Richardson for joining me in studio today. It has been fantastic to learn about your legacy and, passing the torch to Mark and Angie and 5,000 homes. And I still like the from baby bed to dog bed. I think that's kind of funny to see that kind of summarizes where we've been from the 70s to where we are today and, 2022. But thank you for everything you've both done for the housing industry over the years and your contributions to Greater Atlanta and the state. It's much appreciated. You all set the foundation for everything we're doing today. And, we can't discount that. Atlanta is a very strong building market. And it's thanks to all of you guys who started in the 70s and 80s and did it right. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate everything you've done. So
thank you. Well, on behalf of our show sponsor, Denim Marketing, I'm your host, Carol Morgan. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, please go to iTunes and give us a positive rating and review. You can follow us on Facebook for more Metro Atlanta housing news. You can also follow us via our newsletter at atlantarealestateforum.com. You can go there and subscribe. If you're interested in being on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio, shoot me an email, carol@denimmarketing.com. And with that, I look forward to seeing everybody right here for our next episode.
Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio is made possible by Denim Marketing, the publisher of Atlanta Real Estate Forum, Atlanta's favorite source for real estate and home building news. Denim Marketing is a comfortable fit, like your favorite pair of jeans. Denim Marketing tailors marketing strategies to meet your specific needs and niche. Try them on for size. They will work to create a perfect fit for your company's marketing program. Call them at 770-383-3360 or send an email to info@denimmarketing.com. For more information on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio or to inquire about being a guest, contact info@atlantarealestateforum.com. Check out the radio show by visiting atlantarealestateforum.com or by listening to the show on your favorite podcast app. And if you enjoyed today's broadcast, we'd sure appreciate a rating and review on iTunes. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Atlanta Real Estate Forum Radio.